So this is the King-Devick test, and it's one of the easiest ways to tell if a child is struggling with tracking issues and whether it's due to tracking or language that may be interfering with their reading. So what we want to do is rule out, is tracking a problem? And the King-Devick test looks like this. There's digital versions and there are paper versions. On the front part of the scorecard, you're going to see basically the answer keys for the certain parts of the test, as well as the results and the maximum time. Now, the King-Devick states the maximum time that somebody should take based on their age to perform this. However, quite frankly, I do feel like a lot of those maximum times are a little bit on the lower end for what children really need for their age and the grade that they're in. So the values that I look for are often a little bit less than these, because I feel these are almost a little bit too lenient and sometimes miss kids who will struggle because of their tracking. So what does the King-Devick test look at? Well, it looks at the accuracy of saccades, so the accuracy of eye movements. Now, saccades are complex eye movements because these are the jumping eye movements, like what we use reading word to word. The saccades involve basically having to be aware of where the eyes need to move to next, so some calculations around peripheral awareness and processing. Saccades also involve the motor movement of the eyes to where they need to go. And then the eyes also need to actually work together and land in the same spot. And issues in any of those areas can disrupt the saccade eye movements, which are a critical part of reading. As you can imagine, if your eyes can't actually track through the words accurately, reading is going to be a lot more difficult than it should be. And the goal of this is to help rule out eye movements as part of difficulty reading. So how the test works is you basically open it up, and the first thing you're going to do is teach the person how to use the test. So there is an instruction sheet here, and we'll run through in the video. So basically on the first page here for a child, you basically want them to get the concept of what the test does. So you're basically going to caution the subject not to use their finger as a marker, because we don't want the finger, we actually want the eye movements. And basically we want to ask them to call out the numbers on the card as quickly and as carefully as possible. So it's a combination of go as fast as you can, but also be as accurate as you can. And then basically, you move through the numbers in order. So on the demonstration card, which is here, we can show. So what you're going to do is as quickly and as carefully as you can. So fast and accurate. You're going to call out these numbers moving like this, and the arrow shows you the way to go. So for a child, you can go, okay, let's practice on this card. The arrow shows you where to go, and they'll go 2, 5, 8, 3, 9, 4, 6, 8, 3, 6, etc. So you can make sure they get the concept of what they need to do for the test. On the next card is the first test card, and you don't show them this until you're ready to go. So you have a stopwatch, and you're going to be watching them go through this, but you also do have your answer sheet so you know what numbers are there so you can catch any mistakes, because on your answer card, which is basically at the back here, and we often make a photocopy of this so you can follow along separately, on the answer key you can see what they're reading off, so you don't necessarily have to do it with them, but for your own eye tracking, that's kind of fun. So you're going to wait, you're not going to have them look at it or start, you're going to have your stopwatch, and then you're going to say, when I say go, read out the numbers as fast as you can and as carefully as you can. Again, quick and accurate. Same direction we just did. And so you say go, and they'll go through 2, 5, 8, 0, 7, 3, 7, 9, 4, 6, 5, 3, 1, 6, 4, etc. And they go through the whole thing. If they're making mistakes, you don't want to correct them as they go through part of it. However, if they get totally lost and it's just evident that they are just lost in the card, then essentially you can stop it, because you don't need to keep going just to get an incredibly high time. You know that they're not able to do it properly, and that's the goal. So after the first card is going to come the second card. Now, on the second card, you're going to see, again, we have our numbers spaced out here, but there's no longer lines connecting them. So it's actually more difficult for the eye movements, because we have to accurately pick up where the next one is and make accurate eye movements there, and there's not a line that's tracing it. So you will see some kids start to jump up and down and around through here as their eyes aren't moving accurately through those numbers, okay? Then, so you do the same thing for this card. You record their time, start to finish, and then you record how many errors they made on there as well. And going to the next one, we're going to see here the final card, same thing, except now they're even closer together and spaced apart a little differently, which really means that if there are tracking issues or issues with saccades, oftentimes you will see them take a very long time to work through this, or make a lot of mistakes, or get totally lost or skip lines completely, and you do want to record that in your results. So when you're recording the results, you're recording both how long did it take them to do it, and basically how many errors they had. Now, there's an error, which is the difference between, did you skip one number or did you skip an entire line? Because if you skip an entire line, that could influence the time by a lot. You skip 3 lines and all of a sudden your time is going to be a lot faster than it actually is. So what we want to do with that is basically record how much time did it take and then the number of errors. So either just how many did they get wrong, did they skip an entire line, or did they just get totally lost in the whole thing and you had to call it, because that does happen. Then you're going to have you're going to be able to see the time per plate and then the maximum time there. And again, this test is very telling, and we can go over how to interpret those results. But the most important results to get are the time and the errors, and or sort of the type of error if it was skipping an entire line. So in a nutshell, that's the King-Devick test, a brilliant test to kind of tease out eye tracking and eye movement issues from language-based issues, because here it's all just numbers. There's no phonological processing, there's no other language processing. It is literally just eye tracking. So as long as somebody knows their numbers, we're good.